Alright, Formula E exhibition, 5 tiers down, 1 final tier remain for 6 extra free gold. Since, exhibition series, you don't even need to own these cars. So, alright, and there are no PR requirements, so you don't even have to upgrade these cars at all. But, of course, payout isn't huge, but hey, 10 gold is 10 gold, right? So, alright, so we got a 2-lapper cup race at, of course, New York circuit. I have a feeling they're going to expand this exhibition series to include the new Berlin circuit. They would have to, right? Because otherwise, what's the point of having these? So, either maybe they'll add 2 more tiers to this exhibition series, or maybe they'll replace Melbourne. I don't know, because Melbourne is technically not a Formula E circuit, you know what I mean? So, anyway, should be a pretty easy event here. And New York is slightly longer than Hong Kong, and Berlin is, of course, even longer than New York. So, and out of the 3 Formula E circuits, I think New York is the toughest one by far. Berlin, the new one, I think once we get used to that track, I think we'll be able to set some really fast time there, because it's so much more wide open. It allows you a lot more space to overtake, and this seems like it's significantly faster track. Versus Hong Kong is by far the most technical out of the 3, with lots of well, let's see, what if you count the number of hairpins? I think they all have the same number of hairpins, don't they? So for example, we got 1 there. This isn't just it's just a 90-degree corner there, and then we got a little chicane that leads into this long parabolica. And then here's the second hairpin. Does this track only have 2 hairpins then? Or we do have some other of these little chicanes that they have put in here. Because let's see, I guess Hong Kong technically only has 2 hairpin corners as well, and the rest of them are all just like 90-degree corners, aren't they? So maybe in terms of number of corners, maybe it might just very well be the regulation for Formula E tracks. They need to have certain number of, I'm sure it is, you know. So, alright. But even with the same number of hairpins and whatnot, I feel like the New York circuit just seems, I don't know, I just can't, I find it difficult getting a good handle on it. Booster pack, get it now. I should be so lucky, right? Alright, let's move on with the next race, which is going to be Hunter. 19 meters ahead of Sylvia. See, because New York and Hong Kong both starts out with this hairpin. Although this, I mean, this is, of course, we have a different starting line than the finishing line for New York. I think Berlin is the most fun out of the three, at least so far. And figures, we don't get to drive there as much, at least not right now. I'm sure they'll incorporate it into the game more as the next release, next set of releases come along. Right, this is not the finish line. I mean, it is, but that's not where we end. You have to actually do a full lap. And yeah, the Formula E cars, you don't necessarily, it's completely separated from the career now in the game. So, you know, I mean, if you're not a fan of Formula E, obviously you don't necessarily have to participate or buy any of these cars. The same applies for really, you know, NASCAR or any of the Le Mans prototypes or IMSA more recently. So, although it seems like NASCAR and Formula E are the ones that people tend to be kind of divided about in terms of their fondness of these events. And of course, those two have a very particular feature associated with them, right? So NASCAR has, of course, the drafting, right, or slipstreaming, depending on where you are, which is one of the coolest, I think, feature in the game. And on the Formula E side, of course, we got the battery management, the fuel management. So you cannot just, you know, go full force all throughout. You have to watch, you know, your battery level and kind of maintain how much power you're using up per lap. So you have to rely on just not coasting, right? Rely on coasting. I'm trying to say, like, what am I trying to say? So we got, like, for example, this race, we got 28% battery allocated, which means each lap should not take more than 14% since we have a 2-lapper. So, of course, first lap always takes more. So if you think about it, this first, like, lead-in section to the finish line, let's say that is allocated 4% of your battery power, then the remaining race you have to race with essentially using up 10% of your battery power. So obviously, as your lap count gets longer, you just keep you have to divide by a larger number, right? I think the amount of battery power that's allocated generally should be in direct proportion to the number of lap counts. So let's say if you're given 10% battery per lap, if it's a 5-lapper, they should give you 50%. I think that's just generally the way it works out. Which means longer races, if you play your cards right, you can have, like, the amount of fuel you use kind of spread. It's gonna be, the way I approach it is try to get to the front of the pack as soon as you can, because once you're in the front, you can coast by essentially kind of doing traffic management, right? So you're not always in a pursuit mode, which will use up more power than you would otherwise. So that would be my recommended strategy for any Formula E races. But here we are, to wrap up this exhibition series for those 10 gold. That is the last gold trophy that we need. Pretty quick one, you know, no races more than 2 laps. You know, and we get to get a taste of each track. So there we go. All right. And since the instant free service is going on right now, you know, can run through pretty quickly here. All right, there we are, 100% complete. All right, so good luck, and we'll see you in next video. All right, take care.